open source has gone well beyond Perl and well beyond languages, and is really a culture, a community, a way of doing things. It has lots of different techniques, and seems to really be, I guess the thing I would say this year that I'm looking at a little bit more is how open source is really driving, in some senses, and this is a little marketing phrase that's kind of, I don't know if everyone knows, but digital transformation, right? So everyone's like, okay, we have to break down the monolith. We have to go to microservices. We've always had developers well, not always, but for a long time, couple decades now, we've had developers using more and more open source tools. So now what's happening, I think we're seeing, and you'll see this reflected in the Oscon tracks, is how open source really has an impact even well beyond the software development teams. So we do have lots of like technical stuff on like Rust and Go and Docker and TensorFlow stuff that is filling up. But we also have like, how do you explain to your boss why you should be a part of the open source community? How does it impact you? How do you bring that culture internal to your company? So we're continuing with that. We started with that a little bit last year, and we're continuing on. And there's just always fun new things happening in open source. So it's always interesting to put together the schedule.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that in doing this show over the years, is that, it used to be, that open source is strictly about languages and strictly about, operating systems and things like that. But now there's like, it's sort of embedded in our culture now that more companies now are selecting open source strategies out of the box. In fact, well, I'm probably biased because I'm in the open source world, but I'm not seeing or hearing a lot of companies do proprietary software anymore. Is that your observation as well?
Absolutely. I think I was just talking to someone about front-end web performance, and I was like, okay, so what are the tools really that are used there? And it's all mostly based on web page test. Like even if there's a proprietary solution, there's sort of like an open source backend or an open source version. So I think it's more about, we have tons of technical stuff. I want to say that because we have more than last year. That was one of the comments we got last year, which was like, hey, this is cool, but more technical stuff. So we have more technical stuff for the people that really want to get in there and like figure out problems. But we do still have that piece in the schedule that is gives you the tools to explain to probably not the CTO, maybe the CEO of your company, like why you want to do this. How do you want to do this? What does it mean for you? And I think, as you mentioned, we're in the open source world, so we're kind of like, duh. But I think there's a huge, huge world out there that is just getting their head around, not necessarily like the idea that there's open source software, but how do you really incorporate that into a business and why that's a good thing?